This one's a weird one. Narratives and Nonsense, episode 1. A full year ago.
We didn't do a movie for some reason, really?
It's much more lackadaisical and...
Like, you saw Dude? I saw Dude.
Yeah, dude. We started with nothing. From the bootstraps of boredom. I ended up going on his Facebook and cropping what's over in the far corner. Inner machinations of our minds are an enigma. Drunken master, you godsend of a creature. Get your pizza, P-I-Z-Z-A. Give me.
This is a lot what the first episode was like.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Narratives and Nonsense, where friends talking about random and recent stories, newsworthy or otherwise. We did it. We made it to 2023. Holy crap. We, at the very start of last year, or the end of the year prior, however you want to phrase it, our 2021 into 2022 transition, we sat down and went, we should have a podcast.
Start a podcast.
As a reason
great white guys do.
Yep. And that we have. And you know what? I think last year went pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, it was a good year. Some crazy things happened, but, you know, there was a lot of fun stuff and whatnots. Uplifting. I'm optimistic about my future. I think last year was not the case. We're just like, yeah, we're in the thick of it now, boys. But, yeah, so, zooming in more recently. Connor, how was your week?
Oh, it was pretty fine. I had a bit of issues with snow in the car and climbed, and either way, we're here now. It's the new year.
Oh, man. On the subject of snow, so here in Colorado, we got snowed in a little bit, and oh my goodness, I made a very dumb decision. That was, one, I did not brush off the snow like after it just happened, because I work remote. I don't have an excuse to leave. When I went to go and wipe off my car, the snow had been sitting there for like a day or two, so it melted on the top layer, but underneath was super powdery.
Yeah.
So then it was like sweeping it out as much as you could, and then the top layer was this like congealed mass of semi-ice. So even if you're just wiping it from the bottom, you just have this like brick layer that's just sitting there, not moving, just hovering over your hand. So then you had to like grab the blade and just kind of start stabbing at it so it would come off as well. Oh my gosh, it took like 20 minutes to wipe off my car because I didn't get it on the onset. When I finally wipe it off, it's like mostly done. All right, cool. Ready for the adventures of hanging out with people. The next day, it's a much nicer day. Like, the sun is bright and it's toasty and whatnot. And I just like hopped into the car, started heading off, and I opened, it's got a sunroof. I opened the sunroof, and there's nothing immediately on the sunroof, but I came to a stop. Yeah. And all the rest of the snow and ice just went whoop, straight into my lap. Oh my gosh. I was dying laughing. So thankfully I was in a good mood, and I could take the joke of, yeah, Jordan, that was dumb. How stupid child you. That was very entertaining for me. Otherwise, what else happened this week? I mean, I hung out with out-of-state people, folk stuff, got food. New Year's, we're still recovering a little bit. We were up super late. It was a good time, though. Yeah. Lots of fun. Lots of good friends and family and whatnot have yous. We played Red Dragon Inn, and I won. I'm very happy about that. And I love that game so much. It's just a fun game. I
was chilling out and talking crap.
Yeah, and then
Making
truth or drink, pizzas. New Year's Eve happens. Do the full countdown and everything. We never did we end up drinking the Snoop Dogg champagne? No. Oh shoot. We were in a state.
Look, there was enough alcohol.
There was a lot of fun happening. We'll have to come up with a reason to use Marcus's Snoop Dogg alcohol. It'll be your birthday. How's that?
Don't even come near me with alcohol
for months.
Yeah.
That's okay. Birthday's a month from now, and at like a half. You know, we're good. We're good. So, other than that, what? Like, Colorado's supposed to get more snow. We record this on Sundays. We're recording this on Sunday. It's supposed to snow like a couple of inches. Tonight / very early tomorrow morning. There's winter weather advisory warnings, what have you, for the mountains. That's where my grandma's at. So they're like bracing for, all right, we're gonna be buried here for like a day.
Yeah.
And then what? It's gonna be like the 40s. We're not even in like Colorado's snow season.
The 20s.
23. 23. So yeah, good old fun and weather and stuff. Speaking of weather, we have some news. Over in New York, specifically in Buffalo, there is some pretty like uplifting stuff given the fact that everybody's been bombarded with snow.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes looking up this stuff was they called it the Darth Vader of storms, which I think that might be a little bit exaggerating, but I do appreciate the reference. Like, that's a fun analogy. But one of the cooler things is out in Buffalo there was a barber shop where the shop owner, like, his shop was fine, it had electricity and it was warmed and powered and blah blah blah, but there were a lot of homes that were nearby to it that like all of the power started going out and they didn't have heat or anything. And this dude is just like, you know what, I saw Facebook posts of people are apparently like freezing and dying in the street full, like day after tomorrow style, which we talked about, like that kind of like it's just cold and we don't do good in cold. So he took it on himself to shelter, you know, whoever needed to. They put out a TikTok and Facebook group messaging and so on and so forth. And it caught on for quite a bit, and he ended up taking care of 50 people that ended up sheltering in his barber shop, 30 of which were staying like that entire weekend, either like in sleeping bags or they would have like the barber shop shawl.
Yeah, like bibs.
Yeah, and they would use those as blankets. There's like a convenience store that's down the road, so they would go in like groups of 4 to go and grab supplies, and he would, you know, go and provide snacks and food and if need be transportation, and some of the people would stop in and just use power to charge their phone and tell loved ones, hi, I'm okay, I'm alive. So that was really cool. And then similarly, also in Buffalo, New York, there was apparently a tour bus or vehicle or what have you. There's 10 people from South Korea that were going from Washington, D.C. to Niagara Falls for this trip. They ended up getting stranded because their car just gets stuck in a snowbank. And what they ended up doing is they started going like door to door knocking to ask for shovels so they could try to dig it out and keep going or whatever. But it was getting bad enough to where one of the doors opened up. It's a dentist who like saw all of them trying to figure out what they're going to do and whatnot. He's just like, hey, come stay with me and me and my counterpart. The couple ended up hosting the 10 tourists for 2 days, so they watched football and they made food. They're apparently also fans of Korean food, so they got to have like a full cooking day between the 10 of them, and people are sleeping on couches or sleeping bags and whatnot. They got out like an inflatable mattress, like a whole thing, before eventually they're able to get drivers to get them out of it. Like, it was a whole event. I'm sure they'll never forget it. Like, that's just one of those really fun Good Samaritan things. So very wholesome, very uplifting. And then more snow stuff over in Austria. there's a pretty like terrifying video where somebody caught an avalanche that was happening on one of the ski slopes.
Hmm.
You can see some of the skiers just get caught
swallowed
up
up.
in it. Yeah, and it was something where there were 10 people who were assumed missing in action. Just, they don't know where they are. After a number of, rescue efforts and searches and whatnot, they managed to find all 10 people that they believed were caught up in it. And then 4 of them are, like, injured. One of which is, like, much more seriously injured.
Yeah.
Taken to a hospital. But they got everyone, which is huge when it comes to avalanche stuff. Because, like, if you can get out of it, you're already well above what happens when it comes to avalanche stuff. That's some scary shiz. And then the last like cold weather thing is over in Maryland. There's this family that dropped their dog off at a dog sitter's for when they're out of town, and things were going well. Like the dog didn't have any issues or blah 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 with the dog sitter until one day it just ended up taking off.
Yeah.
Probably either a mix of the fact that cold weather came in and that spooked, or the fact that it was away from its family. But it ended up taking off, and it was missing for about 6 days, and this caught on like wildfire. Everyone's, trying to keep an eye out for it. They ended up posting a Facebook group, which they called Operation Fur Fugitives, where they're reporting or mentioning any sightings of this dog. Eventually, somebody mentioned that it was apparently near a frozen creek nearby to them.
Yeah.
And one of the people that sees it notices that it actually got stuck in the frozen creek. The dude that like saw this and went and acted, turns out he is a coach for the water polo team of the U.S. Naval Academy. So he jumped straight into the frozen water, and he's like clearly powerful enough to like get him and the dog out of the water and to the shore, and the dog's fine and is reunited with its family. It was just a very fun like turn of events, given how very serious that could have gotten. I mean, when it comes to water and frozen water in particular, that can go south
super quickly.
Oh yeah, like hypothermia if you get stuck under ice, especially, like yee. So very happy for them. It was a very cool story. And then broader picture stuff. I think one of the more interesting things is seeing Brazil and its kind of 180 when it comes to the folks in charge there. So for a while now, it's been something where the prior leadership was very bad with environmentalism and indigenous folks, and really like the term that was used in this article was he defanged a lot of like enforcement protections, those kinds of things. However, with the new administration, they have put into place a Ministry of Indigenous Peoples. So this is think of it almost like this is that cabinet for that particular field. And the first person that'll be the minister is Sonia Guajajara, if I pronounced it correctly. And she is one of the indigenous women chiefs that, is in charge of their respective tribe. And for her to be in charge is really, really, I think, potent as a message for them trying to really move the needle in what I would call the right direction for the indigenous folks, respecting boundaries and claims, and on top of that, environmental impact stuff. It's something where she's been very vocal about stopping or or enforcing protections when it comes to logging and mining and robbers. And then for her more directly, her tribe ended up having 5 people that were killed fighting off illegal logging.
Yeah.
Just as an example. So I think that's a huge step in the right direction as far as like putting the people that are most directly impacted with and vocal about the matters, the issues at hand. I think that was something it's a really cool sight to see, and she called it a really big step for reparations for Brazil and its indigenous folk. So congrats to that. And then another thing as far as environmental stuff goes, over in France, this has been a long time coming. So they banned single-use plastics for restaurant stuff for like quite some time, and in 2020 they put out a law that is now enacted here in 2023, and that is for single-use tableware for in dining. Specifically, if there's 20 seats or more, then you can't be using single-use tableware. You have to have it reusable. And even though they got rid of the single-use plastics, they were using like cardboard and bamboo and wood. Yeah, stuff like that. And now it's the case where even like a McDonald's fast food, you know, if you went there for like the pancake platter or whatever for breakfast meal, if that's something that you went in and got, you now will have reusable tableware, and if they don't, you know, the reinforcements and fines and et cetera, et cetera. So people are calling it a really big step or a really game-changing thing to happen, and hopefully we'll see if it's something that continues to catch on, having, you know, this kind of big step. Some of the challenges associated with it is naturally dishwashing. If you're a restaurant,
you've now got to allocate that.
Yeah, if you didn't dishwash the number of dishes, you know, you're dishwashing your equipment, you know, you're cooking, you still have cookware that you gotta clean, but for plates or bowls or stuff like that, overcoming that obstacle both from a labor and a like kitchen space aspect, depending on how much traffic you have. And then the other thought is, in switching to multi-use items, you might reintroduce plastics, because you could have multi-use plastic items that, like, how multi-use are they? Like, is it something where you use it 5 times and then it doesn't hold up anymore and you end up disposing of it anyway? So that's the next step in problem solving with it. Another thing that I think is kind of interesting is the idea of having a deposit system for reusing things. I like to think of it like how with coffee shops, if you bring your own mug, sometimes you'll get like a discount or something with it. The idea is that you potentially could go to like a McDonald's or a Wendy's. You end up getting a set of tableware for, I don't know, let's like throw a number like $1. You get it, and then when you return it, you get your $1 refunded, or you can just reuse it again for the next time. So lots of really cool stuff there. I'm excited to see where that goes, and if it's something that continues expanding across Europe, because usually Europe likes to do things like that. So yeah, that was kind of fun. And then going over to holidays, I mean, we just had New Year's, so, you know, it is the good old day after New Year's Day. This is your time to think about your New Year's resolutions, double down, and power through it, and all that jazz. It is also, thank God it's Monday Day. I really like that idea because we post on Mondays, so hopefully this is a reason to celebrate. I've fought a crusade against Mondays for some time. Like, I have like regular hangouts on Mondays because you need an excuse to have fun on a Monday. So thank God it's Monday Day. It's Sci-Fi Day, which I'm a sucker for sci-fi. I mean, Star Wars is half of my it's half my personality. You can see the sign, like the camera, the Star Wars, yay, in the background. And then it is National Cream Puff Day, which they're so good. I went to Wisconsin to visit family a year or two ago. We went to just one of those little like pop-up fairs where like you have a traveling like Ferris wheel and a magician and whatnot. They had this food truck where you ordered ice cream and whatever desserts. We got a cream puff that was like this big.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the most delicious dairy items I've ever had. It was so good. And it was like a gift that keeps on giving because it was very rich.
Yeah.
So like this one thing, it was like $3. It was myself and my mom and my sisters, all four of us, like all we needed is just a little bit of spoonfuls of the thing to just like tear it to shreds.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It was fantastic. I'm salivating a little bit just thinking about it. Cream puffs are delicious. And then for more fun, kind of on the ridiculous side of things holidays, there's 55-mile-per-hour speed limit day, which, safety first and all that. Yeah. I do try to abide by speed limits, but I'm terrible at it. And then the next one is just a fun phrase. Run up the flagpole and see if anyone salutes day. The idea of it's a like 50s and 60s phrase. It's been around for a while, but that's where it mostly caught on. The idea of it is if you have an idea or a thing that you want to do, this is like the excuse to go get creative. A more modern version of that phrase would be like, throw something at the wall and see if it sticks, is like the equivalent of that. So that's another thing. If you have something, go for it. YOLO. That was us with the podcast. We just went with it. And you know what? So far, I'm pretty... Yeah, it sucks.
Our lives are ruined.
Oh, no. So, yeah. Now for the meat and taters of today's. This one's a weird one. We're going to talk about Narratives and Nonsense, episode 1. A full year ago. Well... For our normal breakdown stuff, we usually go into like the cinematography and the sound design and the sets and the acting and the whatnots and have you, costumes, blah, 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 before then going into plot. We're talking about a podcast, so it's like, all right, where did we come from and where we are now? I mean, back then, you were still up in Canada.
Yeah.
You didn't have camera stuff, whatever, set and ready to roll.
Headset.
Yeah. So I ended up going on his Facebook and cropping pictures of him, and that's like what's over in the far corner. And then for Discord, it had the like kind of backgroundy filter stuff. So I had it so it's a transparent background, and I'm a little bit blurred out. And then as time went along, we included the background and still used the Discord filter for having it blurred out, which was fun and weird, whatever. Until finally you came into the state and it's like, woo, now we can just hang out next to each other. Same thing with like the sound stuff. I mean, the headset situation for Canada, and then because we were doing this over Discord, I had a hell of a time trying to solve my sound issues, because I have a decent microphone. Like I splurged a little bit during the pandemic because I'm working from home and I was answering phone calls, and I'm like, I want the last thing for people to have to deal with is the fact they can't understand me because my mic sucks. So that was something that I put a little bit of money towards. So my audio, like the raw audio, shouldn't be bad. But when we were recording
multiple layers of Discord and OBS.
Oh gosh, yeah. So we're recording it through OBS, and then it's split through to Discord at the same time. And Depending on how I set it up, I still don't truly know the extent of why it wasn't working. But I think it was something where it's the one input being split between the two things, and so it like half corrupted the sound almost. It made it like robotic-y. We ran into it sometimes with playing D&D as well, where people would be like, Jordan, you sound robotic-y, and I'm like, I don't know why. Because it wasn't like a settings thing, and it's not a chord thing. Look, the thing's plugged in fine. It was just a matter of how it was getting distributed on the computer. So that I'm so pleased that I don't have to really deal with that as much. And now it's more on like, rather than my ability to be a sound engineer to design this, it's about sound editing.
Yeah.
Which is a lot simpler, I would say, because you can just go, listen, okay, sounds good. Like throw in another setting, listen, okay, sounds good, listen to another setting, so on and so forth. You can kind of stack and undo. With the engineering side, it's like you mess it up and you don't have a backup mic the same caliber. Out. You just you gotta pray. So yeah, I'm very happy that sound has gotten better as time goes along. And then editing, I've picked up and learned a lot more editing things, which is kind of fun. Usually making stuff with Sony Vegas. I've poked Adobe Premiere, and I'm not familiar enough with it to use it more, but I'm tempted. And I've had a lot of fun making the edits.
Yeah, for intros.
Yeah, and I think we do a good job of.
We think you do, yes.
I was gonna say, in the span of the podcast, I think we both make good contributions to what our grander thought process is. The inner machinations of our minds are an enigma. But it's something that, like, I go through, and it's not me hunting down something to use for an intro. I think that really
target rich environment.
Yeah, and it really speaks to, when we first started off, I had no idea what we were talking about. We really lingered, and there's lots of pauses, and I don't think we were very active when talking to one another. But since then, it's something where just going through more. Well,
especially this one, we didn't even really we didn't do a movie for some reason, really, in a proper way that we do now. Yeah. Which is odd because I feel like that was always the idea, but
yeah, it was much more lackadaisical in
you saw Dune? I saw Dune.
Yeah. Dune. Yeah.
It's real dark on my TV.
When did we watch Dune? I don't know, months prior. That was pretty much the extent of it, and then we ended up going off track about Star Wars for a bit. We
never do that.
I love the fact that episode 1 of our podcast, we have Jordan going, I can't rant about Rise of Skywalker. I need to hold myself back. So we've been teasing that since day one. It might happen one day, but not today. Not anytime soon.
It's just gonna be Jordan in a cardboard cutout of Connor.
Yeah.
I've heard it 1,000 times already.
There it is.
Get Han up here.
Yeah, I have a cardboard cutout of Han Solo in the basement. Oh my gosh. So that's something that as time has gone along, we've focused a lot more on movies and shows, and I refer to it as the meat and taters of the episode every time, and yeah. I think that's a great description. Originally, we didn't really have that. We were just like, all right, yeah, we're talking to each other about that was the extent. So I think we've honed in a little bit. I'm curious to see if we'll hone in more as the year goes along. I also think that now that we have a structure that we've adhered to pretty well over, I would say we started hitting that 40 episodes ago. Yeah. Right. 4 or 5 in, we're shows and movies, we're in it now. But With that, we have the structure. I feel like we can break it a little bit. So as far as, going into next year for things that I would love to see, I really want to have guests happen in whatever form. I might have to get back into the Discord problem.
Yeah, no kidding.
Figuring out how to do it, because I mean, we've got friends all over the place because we're so popular. Because everyone leaves Colorado. All of the friends, or if it's something where like we have a friend that we could physically have here, it's probably easier to have it on Discord, because I mean, Connor and I are sitting right next to each other. Like, having a third person that's just like sitting behind the microphone and hope that their sound is good enough, that might be tough to do. So
yeah, but either way, guests will definitely be a thing of some variety.
Yeah.
Frequency, no idea.
Not any.
Good luck
clue.
with that.
Yeah. So that was something that was interesting. And then I really want to cross post and edit things more. I want to figure out having somebody do some of the editing so that I can focus on like making the sound that much better, doing problem solving, like for getting guest stuff to happen, or sometimes like taking the intro and then reformatting it so it's good for like a YouTube short or a TikTok or what have you. Because I think it's something where even if you don't watch the rest of this podcast, most of you don't, you still have that intro. I think that's always a fun thing in and of itself. And I think people could still very much get a kick out of just the intros happening, because they're memey. That's, so that's something that I really want. And then for like real specific goals, because those are pretty broad categories. Like do a thing. Okay, cool. For very specific goals, I would love to see if we have another video that is like our Drunken Master video. Just some random hard hitter that goes way beyond what we ever would have
most of our channels views.
Yeah, because goodness, it really took off beyond all belief. And then having on a much more like controllable scale, I would say, having 5 videos get 1,000 views or listens or whatever, I think that would be pretty fun as a metric of, we're doing something and people are actually paying attention to it. I think that'd be kind of fun.
I think we're definitely getting close to mine. Like I'd really like to get the like at least 100 viewers like concurrently. That'd be my big one.
Concurrently?
Yes.
Consistently?
Consistently. Yeah. Like okay. Concurrent. Like every video. 100.
I see what. Consistently. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, big picture, year one, we started with nothing, from the bootstraps of boredom. And we went from no views to, as a channel, 43,400 some, 41,000 being from Drunken Master. It just doesn't stop.
I know what the people want.
It's all that people care about. Drunken Master, you godsend of a creature. Good old-fashioned Jackie Chan. You can't go wrong with it. And then for watch hours, this was something that was really fascinating to look at. We have 582.1 watch hours, and I did the math for it. If you were to watch all of the Lord of the Rings extended editions for the trilogy, it's like 11 hours and 30 minutes or something like that. If you divide that up, it's people have watch time with us for the equivalent of watching Lord of the Rings, all 3 of those extended movies, about 50 times.
Nice.
That's like putting it that metric in a different format. That tells you something. Like, oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Like that's multiple days of Lord of the Rings nonstop. You're like, holy crap. And then We hit 121 subscribers. I mean, that number
before the start of the new year, which was really crazy.
Yeah, and then specifically we hit the 100 benchmark December 5th. Like going from nothing to, all right, here you go. Here's like a number, like a
triple digits,
goalpost, checkpoint. I don't know, however you want to say it. Like it's something. It's a milestone.
Yeah.
That.
Something to hang your hat on.
Yeah, go, wow, all right, cool. Something happened. So there you go. Yeah. It's been a fun time. And I really do like it as a way for us to
good excuse to sit down.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes even twice a week because we watch movies together.
Yeah, and then we can kind of just like I would say, generally speaking, with the intro bits of us talking about good news, I genuinely think I have a much more like optimistic look at the world around me now, generally speaking, because like, dude, 2021 it was like,
dude, 2020 and 2021, like that. Yeah.
Both of them, it's something where, I mean, the world just ate it as a whole. It's really tough when, you know, you've got pandemic things and then everything that comes out of the socio-economical fallout of a plague, for lack of better description.
Well, and on top of just the thing that life brings is just random people dying at different points and just and natural disasters,
lots of tensions,
all kinds of stuff.
Here in the US in particular, there's the election stuff. I mean, politics has gotten very polarized and whatnot, and I would say that we do lean more on like the democratic liberal side of what the news stories are, but I do think generally, as far as those stories go, I do try to be mindful of it not being like, this is one set of politics. I do try to keep it as a...
It's about the facts and the impact.
Yeah,
like,
and like
behind it.
And like it's stuff that I don't think is a political aligned motive. So I think a great example is when we talk about things like police structuring, funding, stuff like that. That's one of those news articles where I do think it is a grand scale good move to have some of those things, and I feel like a lot of that stuff became very politicized as one side versus the other. You don't do any reforms, or you reform and just tear down the entire structure. And I think neither of those truths are accurate. It's much more in the middle, where it's like, no, here's what is working, let's do more of that, and here's what hasn't been working, or if it has been working, it's not been working enough. I think like the stuff where we're finding more mental health resources for police
units, down new avenues, trying new things, you know, giving people a little more support.
Yeah, I think that's the stuff.
Not asking, you know, a fireman to build a desk.
Yeah, and that's something that I think genuinely, I do think I have a much more positive outlook on politiclessness of like, here's where we're just heading in general.
But if you want to know our true political party ideology, it's a pizza party.
The pizza party. There it is. Dude, we just...
Pizza party 2024?
We just had some cheese pizza. Yeah.
2024. Pizza party.
Pizza party.
These are slices of pizza.
Not pizza. Pizza. World pizza.
It doesn't really...
Is this a gang sign? Pizza. Get your pizza. P-I-Z-Z-A. Give me pizza.
This is a lot what the first episode was like.
It was.
This was our dramatic.
This is Now that we're talking about ourselves, we've lost all sense of control. It's all gone. It's out the window. Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything else that you think I want to say?
It's been a great year, you know, and ultimately, I think importantly, like, you know, the numbers are cool. Like, it's a kick in the pants, the drunken master of all things had for the kid. But at the end of the day, like...
Especially, it was like a delayed fuse bomb.
Yeah, like, it did well initially. It was like, okay, it wasn't a no viewer. We had a couple of those at that point. I still think a few.
Oh, yeah. And then what, 2-3 months later, it just like, oh, a couple thousand. Oh my God.
Dude, it was like,
what?
We had 100 views. And it was like,
it
what?
was so funny. We really were just like watching it step by step. Like, what is going on here?
But it's always fun. But it's like, we're here doing our thing because we want to do it. And that's always the most important part. Getting to hang out with my bud and doing this is just a fun way to kind of weaponize our lunacy.
Yeah.
For some form of good or entertainment.
Especially since now that you're here in the state, I feel like it's now like a structured, like a homey type of thing.
Yeah, it was always fun, but like it's way better this way. I prefer this format a lot more.
Yeah.
Like some of those old episodes are fun. There's some good moments in them and everything, but I definitely, the vibe of this is a lot better, and that's been nice to see. It's just
much more back and forth. And,
exactly.
Like,
we're not waiting on audio delay, talking over it. It's a lot easier that way.
You don't have to deal with that weird techie.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Yeah. Oh, man.
Us being like weirdly cut off or delayed. So, but either way, no, it's been an amazing year, and I couldn't ask for anything more. Like, the fact that we even hit 100 subs before the end of the year was mind-blowing, and really appreciative of that.
Yeah.
If nothing else, like, thank you guys so much for bothering to even click that button. That's huge.
We're doing something. So anyway, if you want to see more of us,
well, and by all means too, like, one thing that, and maybe we need to gauge this more, like, if there's anything you guys want to see, if there's anything you would like us to talk about, if there's stories ongoing, if there's social movements that you're interested or inspired by, please, by all means, let us know. Like, we'd be so happy to hear any ideas or suggestions. So
because otherwise
it's us two chuckleheads in charge.
Yeah, like teaser for later. I like Star Wars. Little big shock. We're gonna talk about Bad Batch because Bad Batch is gonna happen, and I wanna watch it. And I want to talk about it. But there's some other stuff that we've been watching that, like, timing wise,
there's stuff like,
the chance to. I think Glass Onion is a great example. I watched that the other day. It just happened with Netflix, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it was fantastic. We just never, like, the timing didn't play out for like talking about that. And I don't know if you've watched it yet. You should. It's really good. like that's one of those things where if you guys push for it, hell yeah, we'll talk about it.
Well, and like very much a thing of it's because usually something I haven't seen, something Jordan hasn't seen, something we both haven't seen, somewhere in that order. Some recent, like Avatar 2, which kind of, that was the thing. But by all means, there's room. So.
Oh my gosh, there's so much room, and there's so many things out there. I mean, we've kept it pretty contained to movies and shows because I think it's digestible enough for how
also often. I think it helps on our turnaround as well with doing these every week.
Yeah, because if we're reading books, that's going to be a lot tougher because a lot of books are like pages upon pages, and unless you're reading every single day to get through just a thick old novel, yes, it might have a lot of really great storytelling, but it's hard to digest fast enough. Where with a movie you can watch it and rewatch parts of it.
It's easy to block out time for that. Of like, I need 2.5 hours here.
Yeah. But that's not to say that we can't. It's to say if there's the demand for it, maybe we'll look at it. But we're not there yet.
You hold the power in this relationship.
Same thing with like video games. I think like I would love to talk about video game stuff. But again, it's so chunky. Like, that has to be a big
unless it's just endeavor. Like stuff from like childhood, which is mostly just going to be Star Wars games for you and I.
Oh man, that Battlefront 2 campaign for the old PlayStation.
Force Unleashed, OG.
Force Unleashed 2. It has interesting thoughts.
It was pretty.
It was cut off
better
before its time. Good old Force Unleashed 2. What a gem.
Get 2 lightsabers. That's the whole.
That's
but it wasn't really him. Oh, the spoilers! Oh no!
Yeah, how do we get Starkiller in here? Well, I mean, if you went with the canonical good ending of the first one, it ain't him. So what the hell does that mean?
Anyhow.
Yeah.
Thank you as always for joining us.
Have a great year.
Been an honor, folks.
If you want to see more of us, Connor.
Right here. Every Monday.
Or the weird non-content of 5-string.
Yeah. I was thinking I do need to that'll probably be like partially of my New Year's thing is probably do some just climbing recordings just so I can literally have something to put here.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun.
It's good for me too because it's a self-review mechanism, right? So either way. So possibly look forward to that as well for all those people who really like sport climbing out there.
And then for me, if you need to see more of me, then Gillidan for the win. We're gonna start Birth by Sleep. That's the goal this next week. Myself and my buddy John.
Nice.
I'm real excited. I'm real ready to get back into that.
It's been a time.
Yeah, because it's been a minute since we've live streamed. Speaking of nonsense things, I don't know if the mic. No, the mic's not picking up. Yeah. Great. So I have a watch that I got a while ago. It's a gag watch. It looks like an old Nintendo.
Oh yeah.
Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And it does the Mario theme.
Super Mario World theme, I think.
Yeah. But
anyways,
that was an aside. Gonna see more of me, Gildan for the win. Otherwise, Mondays, it's both of us. Narratives and nonsense in the evening. Woo!
100 years, narrative nonsense, forever and ever, Jordan.
I need to catch up on Rick and Morty. Bye, everyone. We're fading to black. Woo!